Next up, we have Gacha Games Are Terrible, and Here's Why You Should Play Them by CipherRei. We've already done a couple other parts of this one, but this is a chunky deep dive, and not just to gacha games, but the entire creation and establishment of the franchise style. And unfortunately, saying it's a franchise style is not the right way to say that, but it's also not entirely wrong either, because god damn, does it feel like someone is like, hey, you like making money? Do it for us. If that sounds like a different type of business model, those probably make less money. I won't say what it is, but you can assume. Something about Scarface. What was it? I said nothing. Moving on. Let's see where this goes. Oh, it is the Limbus Company background.
Time and money. Gameplay,
yeah, don't got that.
And gacha. These
okay, can we all acknowledge just this white screen?
Time and money.
Where was it? We all know exactly which game he's playing, right? It's Genshin. We all know it.
And gacha. These
Slots.
are the two main reasons why some people have trouble quitting
What
gacha
the
games.
fuck?
Some have
Dead Space?
already
Dead
invested too much time to quit, whether it be weeks, months, and even years, and would feel like they wasted the time that they spent, while some have already
Yeah, can you imagine someone spending years playing gacha games? Yeah, that would be silly. I don't understand that. Yeah, that's not relatable at all.
invested too much money to quit and would feel like they just wasted their big bang bucks after spending all that moolah on some JPEGs. It's a dilemma that a lot of people struggle, but of course this isn't limited to gacha games only. You can find these problems pop up in your popular multiplayer games like League of Legends or Rainbow Six Siege. Single player games don't have this issue because you can easily just drop the game for now and come back to it
I don't know what game this is, but I kind of like the style of it. I might have to look it up.
some other time when you feel like playing.
Ooh.
Attachment to time and money spent is one thing, but there is another type of
I just realized those are kids on the side and they're just blurred out because YouTube. Wait, is this guy playing gacha games and recording himself with his kids just being ignored? That's kind of weird.
attachment gacha games tend to lean towards excessive fan service.
I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I'm really not. And I both mean that as exactly how you're thinking, but also the way Limbus Company does, where it's actually service for fans of other franchises by making references to, well, either the franchise itself, because I think there's going to be a crossover, or by just doing cool things, referencing previous events in games. It's like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, what the word initially meant.
Gacha games tend to utilize fan service as a way to allure people or appeal to a certain audience. While fan service can vary from different things such as collabs and lore, it
Honestly, lore fan service is probably my favorite, just because it's usually well done. Because no one realizes it's a lore fan service if it's bad. It's just bad then.
its main source of fan service tends to be on the sexual side of things. Sex sells. That statement has never been more true. 7 out of 10 times you'll
Also, if you want to see how true that is, not just for males, Love in Deep Space. That takes almost anything he is willing to put on screen, and it can be safe for work while also at the same time be the most degenerate thing ever. It is somehow the biggest gooner game. And goddamn, like, I listen to that and I'm like, I'm not comfortable with this, but I'm also not the audience, so I don't care.
find that gacha games have this catered fan service that mainly focuses on the sexual appeal of their characters, whether
Also, okay, one? God damn. I do not look like that. My nails are not nearly that pointy.
it being man, a woman, or non-binary. But it mostly focuses on the female since most players are usually male.
Although, again, Korean Love in Deep Space, which he's probably about to reference soon. I don't think that's it, but maybe. It's not for lack of trying.
Unless it's an otome game. The problem with this is that gacha companies tend to only focus on the fan service
just
rather than
spilling
make
wine.
their
Why?
game playable. That's why some gacha games tend to be dubbed as waifu collectors in
Yeah.
the sense that there's no actual gameplay and it's just a JPEG collector with a voice attached to it.
Coughing MP4? Yeah.
Destiny Illusion.
Don't even know that one.
These players will spend ludicrous
Illusion?
amounts just so they could get their new waifu, who is in a very suggestive bikini that I will not display because Daddy YouTube might give me the
Anise, sparking, summer, the sauce you're looking for. Don't worry, YouTube doesn't have it censored. Yeah, but, yeah. Oh, Wait, is that fried chicken with... I feel like I should know that guy's face for some reason.
1-2 strike spanks. Gacha is very predatory, and it doesn't help that these companies have no sympathy towards their player base whatsoever.
Yep. I mean, to be fair, that's not limited to gacha. Nintendo jacking up the prices of all the new Switches. Sorry, not the new Switches, the old ones to $300. And you think, well, maybe that's because tariffs. No, they're doing it worldwide. Everyone is getting that.
Use that downward spiral. A spiral of temptation, contempt, attachment, envy, and greed.
You know, you take this out of context, this is basically just like, what is it like to buy from a company that realizes their competition isn't going to infect them and that you're going to buy from them no matter what? That's a little too dark.
Gacha games have always been that way.
It's a genuine problem that we all need to acknowledge,
Big grand order,
especially
indeed.
the fact that these types of games are easily accessible to children.
Wait, how much did it make? I saw a number that I need to...
Especially the fact that these
We had to pay $20 million fine for a number issue gambling model character acquisition. They actually got fined? From the FTC? Honestly, I thought they'd be given a pat on the back. Oh, it's a Chinese company, that's why.
types of games are easily accessible to children.
I mean, if it was European,
It's
I
what
believe
causes
it.
people to stay away from it. It's why people do not like it. It's why so many people hate gacha games and have advocated to stop spending on these microtransactions so that the industry will change.
But it won't because people still spend. The problem is some of the games are good. A lot of them aren't. A lot of them aren't. But some of them are good.
But it's not that simple. Companies still need profit in order to keep functioning, and some want their product to be the best there is, no matter how many years it takes. But
I will give Arknights some credit. If you're into that kind of thing, they do keep a consistent level of quality. Not really my thing right now. Mostly because I just played the roguelike mode almost constantly and nothing else, so I'm not exactly the right person to say it, but it's not like they were ever screwing people over that badly. That said, apparently if you're actually good at the game, unlike me, you didn't need to spend because it was so easy, you never had to worry about that.
passion can only
I sucked
take
though, so
you
it didn't
so
bother me.
far, because that's just not how society works. Revenue is needed to pay the people who make these projects and to keep it afloat. That's why some companies end up making use of gacha as their main source of revenue.
Yeah, because Limbus Company initially tried to fund with a Kickstarter or like a GoFundMe or something, and I think they got $3,000. Yeah, it failed. So then they went on to make what was the first Project Moon game? Lobotomy Corporation. Yeah. A failed funding project. Turned into that, turned into a library, turned into Limbus Company, which Limbus Company was only made gacha because they had further money issues. I'm honestly convinced that the fact that they have the Ham Ham Peng Peng, a restaurant they actually have in Korea, and the fact that I know that name, I mean, I'm probably butchering, but that's just me in general. I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually how they funded making games initially. And honestly, considering restauranting is harder than making games when it comes to actually turning a profit, a game might fail. A restaurant almost guarantees it will fail for the vast majority of them. The odds are actually worse.
Since a free game is more accessible than a $70 game on the market, and it's one of the
$70
fastest and easiest
Oh, these are old numbers. Yeah.
ways to gain revenue for them. Yes, it is predatory. Yes, it is something that needs to stop. And
But it works.
I fully agree with you. But here's the thing. Not all of them are as terrible as you think they are.
Yep. People hold up Limbus. Legitimately, when Walpurgis came out, I decided to spend on that because I hadn't had to for almost any character since I realized I didn't need to spend. Yeah, I'm not going to spend until the next Walpurgis comes out, and I'm fine with, well, there's like the $15 battle passes. That I'll probably spend for because it's there. But yeah, no, it's fun. Also, Zero, you just started Lobotomy a few days ago? We'll send a welfare check in like 3 weeks when you're contemplating, well, exploding the computer through any way possible as revenge against the system. Apparently, I've been told it's a standard response.
I'm not telling you to play every single gacha game out there.
There's a lot you shouldn't.
That's torture. I'm actually telling you to play the good gacha games.
Don't know that one.
And these, some are one of the best ones out there. And like every spiral, if it goes...
God damn, he has my number. He made a freaking Gurren Logon reference. It's an old show, but it checks out. Also, just random aside, Limbus Company is a mobile game. Played on a full screen, it actually looks better.
Down.
Like,
it
not even a
can
little for how it
also
plays.
Go up. I've played a lot of gacha games throughout the years.
What game is
like,
that?
A lot. Like, here's the list if you're interested. But
I didn't even know some of those games. Holy shit. Oh, I
most
see
of the
kind of
ones
Suba
that I've
characters.
played, I would immediately leave after a month or two due to burnout. And it's mostly due to the reasons that I've stated earlier. But there have been a couple of games that I've stayed in
Puzzle
and
game?
some I've left that I would still highly recommend.
Okay, I'll be honest. I tried playing Blue Archive. I got bored. I couldn't stand the gameplay style. Same reason I stopped playing Nikki, oddly enough.
I'm going to talk about these
Guardian Tales and
gachas
being
in
told
an
that game I
ascending
asked about
order,
was? Oh,
as
thank you,
well
Zero.
as talk about their biggest highlights and reasons as to why you should play them.
Yeah, Honkai Impact 3rd. Very predatory even when it came out. But I think that's because the style of monetization was, you need copies. You can get a character, but it'll be expensive. And then the copies are even more so. But damn, if you only just followed the animations, it had a damn good story, man. Or even if you played the game and just did the story sections only without engaging with the end game, a lot of the time you could just play the trial character because that's what they gave you. But you had to actually know how to play the game, which is something I never did.
I'm also gonna try to be unbiased as much as possible, but know that I might yap about my personal experiences and gripe with them. Now, the lowest
A meme about talking at a brick wall. It'd be really awkward if I was staring at a brick wall while saying this. That would be completely silly. Mine's drywall. It's completely different.
in this list is Genshin Impact.
Wait, what?
This list, I might yap about my personal experiences and gripe with them. Now, the lowest in this list is Genshin Impact.
That you should actually play. You know, considering everything he said, I honestly thought he would say Honkai Impact. I was not expecting Genshin. I'm actually kind of curious why he's saying that one.
Wait. Hold on. Let me cook, alright?
No,
I know
I heard you
that Genshin gets a lot of hatred for, well, a lot of reasons. Even
Lack of storytelling knowledge, putting in dialogue to make things take longer, not understanding what good writing is, because when they actually use it, they put all the B writers just to fill up content because it makes you feel like there's padding to the game where it's really just filler and it's not even good filler. Because apparently I've been told there is good filler every now and again, although I've personally never experienced it. Yeah, I mean, if you skip past all that, the exploration's fun.
I don't like the game that much. I quit a few months after the first anniversary due to burnout and in turn soured my experience of it.
Again, I burned out in Inazuma when I realized, oh, they don't know what they're doing. I thought the writing was good up until then, and I realized, no, it wasn't. I just really enjoyed the exploration. Still do. That's why I'll probably go back someday, like maybe another year or two from now, just explore new continents, because I like that aspect of the game.
Despite the fact that I quit the game, over time, Genshin has learned from some of its mistakes and has improved their game overall. Its story is slow and slightly uninteresting for the first few chapters leading.
Again, I played for exploration. It made it a lot easier to play, which is good because I sucked. Also, I had such horrible luck, none of my characters actually did damage.
To Inazuma, but I can confidently say that past that point, they definitely managed to make a very interesting main storyline. It's not my cup of tea though, but a lot of people might like how they've spun their narrative. The gameplay and the world has a lot to offer as well. Liyue and Mondstadt are somewhat empty for the most part, but the other nations.
Liyue definitely felt that way, but I think Mondstadt being empty was a good opening area because it showed you, hey, we can make a pretty world. Liyue had very dynamic areas, but they felt more empty. Once you got through the basic challenge of them, there was nothing else. I kind of see what he means. Although I think they went the opposite way in Inazuma, and there's enemy everywhere, so you can never actually explore the damn place.
Have a lot to offer in their
just
respective
boring
environments
enemies.
and really sells that open world vibe. The game has no shortage of new characters that can offer a new perspective in their.
That is a very generous statement. Yeah. There are a lot of new characters all the time, constantly. It's like that's how they milk their player base.
Lives in that world.
Yes,
and
however
they're
Gacha
all
does it.
very unique, with each having visually stunning
Some are even
designs
good.
based on their nationality. I am gonna say that some of them are kinda copy, paste, and hollow, but that's normal if you introduce a lot of characters in a game. Now, players can obtain them through the gacha reruns, except Eula, who has rerun like once for some.
Yeah, they made a mistake with her, unfortunately, which is sad for me because she's the only character I ever got good rolls on. So I mained her most of the game. And honestly, until enemies started flying and, it's like, oh, I need to hit you at range. I can't. Oh. Yeah, that sucked. Short of that, though, it was fun.
Reason. The combat as well. A lot of Genshin fans will try to kill me for this.
Oh, no, it's very basic, but it's pretty. But it is very basic. Personally, I think the timeout on running is more annoying.
The combat is not bad, but it isn't critically acclaimed either. And that's just, it's okay. It's just okay. And that's the truth. It isn't mind-blowing, although some boss fights can be pretty cool to fight. Overall, it's alright. It's just there, and that's fine. Because Genshin's strength isn't in its combat, it's in its story, exploration, and music.
Okay, yeah, I'll give him that one. The music for background is beautiful. The thing that got me into this game first wasn't the story because I didn't know it. It wasn't the gameplay because I wasn't playing it. It was that I heard what this background sounded like, and I actually bugged my wife so we could just go for a drive while listening to this in the background for like an entire hour. It's like, yeah, I'm playing this game now. That's the entire reason for it. I just love the incredibly relaxing background music. And this is during 2020, so you can understand why incredibly pastoral sounds that were relaxing and bright and vibrant sounds really nice. Yeah. Timing definitely helped.
Of course, early Genshin music has been pretty bonkers, like Ejdaha's boss theme and some of the character trailers' OSTs. I feel like some of the newer tracks lack an oomph behind them, but it's still
I haven't heard the newer tracks. I didn't know that. That's actually disappointing.
Pretty good. Either way, Genshin is a solid game that you might want to check out, although it is at the bottom of my list because I dislike how they handle the monetization of the game.
Yes, it is horrible monetization. And I know I've said this in every other part of this reaction. I came from Fate Grand Order prior to this. This game is how I've been stepping down on gacha to do less of it. So I am basically treating Genshin initially as a Nicorette patch for gacha. It went, okay, yeah, we got the Fate Grand Order. We're good. Fine. Ooh. 200 pull guarantee. I can budget this out and just play and just do basic stuff every day and get something. Okay, cool. I'm good. I don't really need anything else. That's actually not bad. And now I'm down to Limbus Company. It's like, oh, cool. Let's just take a hit of a vape and we're set. I don't vape. I don't smoke. But it's like the step down process of getting out of gacha. What also helps is I found a bunch of single player games that I actually love now. Cyberpunk 2077, 5 years later, turned into a god game. Or is it 4 years later? It's really good when you can cross bridges without the game crashing your entire system. Yeah, that's why I never played that game. I couldn't. Also, Battletech is just good shit regardless.
I'm trying to be unbiased as much as possible, but I can't. I literally can't. It's like SpongeBob in that one episode where he was deprived of water in Sandy's house. Either way, the next one on my list is Endless Zone Zero. But
okay, full disclosure, I like this game. I just don't play it. I don't know why. I have nothing wrong with the story, but I also haven't played a lot of it. I just never got into it. Yeah, no reason. I heard the story was good later on. I just never really did it.
I already made a video on that, so if you want to hear my thoughts as to why I recommend this game to you, then you can check it out on the top right of the
nice
screen
animations
right
for
now.
the characters, though.
Now, for the next one, well, I'm actually surprised that I'd be recommending it because it has its fair share of issues, as one might say. But Guardian Tales is a very well-polished game that I honestly wasn't thinking of talking about until
It's animated? Honestly, I thought it was like the top-down one people told me about. Huh.
I realized later on while writing the script that I actually had a very good experience with the game. The only reason I stopped
Oh, it is
playing
a
the
top-down
game
one.
is because it has a PvP system for some reason.
Oh.
Although PvP aside, the game is honestly very cute, chill, and has its funny moments with some pop culture references here
Magic
and there.
bean?
Continuing the story
What?
along, it will try to delve into much more serious and somewhat grim tones that
Oh.
some people might not expect from this cute though.
Wait, this style of art has grim? Not what I was expecting. Huh. That's actually pretty awesome.
Game, and it's really well executed. The music is fantastic, and the gameplay is a 2D hack and slash that reminds me a lot of Legend of Zelda A Link
And that's probably why I'm not going to play it. I'm just not a big fan of 2D hack and slash. It's like, I played these Zeldas he's referencing right now. I played them because I had no other games. Also, I kind of got burned out because I had no other games.
Between Worlds, and it's really damn fun. Not to mention that the game is fairly free-to-play friendly. In fact, it's a little too free-to-play friendly.
What?
Because players aren't really incentivized to spend due to how easily obtainable materials and gacha currency is. That's why I think a lot of people will enjoy
I do
this
see
game,
FreeRun,
and
so-
there's no need to worry if you haven't heard of
Camera.
this game at all, because Guardian Tales doesn't do advertising that much. Such is
They
the
advertise?
curse of Korean gacha games. Now,
I'm starting to see a habit here. Korean gacha games are either absolutely amazing or they're trash. You know, actually, that's not even a Korean thing. That just seems to be all of them. And Zero to Nova, I will cry of happiness. That's weird, but I'll take your word for it.
then, up next is...
What? Did he run out already?
Oh. Oh, wait, no. That can't be right. No.
Is he going to say figure it
no.
out? Because I would not see
No,
that coming.
No. Oh, no.
What? I don't know. My mind just immediately heard 8-bit and went Undertale for some reason. I don't think it's the case, though. What? Oh my god. This is Blue Archive, isn't it? Oh, I don't... Oh. This is the game he recommended.
I'm not gonna talk about the Cunny. 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 I'm not gonna talk about the
Cute
Cunny.
and
I'm not
funny?
gonna talk about the Cunny. I'm not gonna talk about the Cunny.
That is not what I thought that word was. What? Why do they have a singing smiley face emoji?
Blue Archive. Christ. Where do I start? Blue Archive is... Jeez, give me a minute. Okay, so...
I feel I'm missing
First
something.
things first.
I lured the cat.
Do not engage with the community, alright?
Ah, it's one of those communities. Yeah, that makes more sense suddenly.
No. Just no. You got that? Good. Blue Archive is a really good gacha game with deep lore and really catchy music. You are a teacher who handles a lot of students who are suspiciously only girls who use guns. If that is not interesting enough, this
I mean, if you want that, just go to New Jersey and become a teacher. Or Florida or Miami specifically, or, you know, anywhere in America really at this point. Things that were not a joke recently. I like it when that was a really edgy joke instead of almost a fact.
story can be incredibly good if not traumatizing at times.
What?
Which is not expected out of a game whose player base basically consists of, well, this. Where the fuck this is.
Archive so far. I know, for one,
Was
the
not
crying
expecting to hear
emoji
English?
seems to be what's keeping us together here in the chat.
Ah. Oh, they're aware of their audience.
The music can also go from very catchy, goofy stuff that you've probably
what?
heard from memes or just absolute bangers. It's genuinely surprising considering that at the surface, Blue Archive is probably just some weird lolly bait for a lot of people, and I wouldn't blame
Gonna be honest. No, there was a marketing of specifically 2 girls in bunny outfits for this that did not. They was not lollies, put it that way. Still boring in game. I don't know why. This is going to be a hot take maybe. I felt the actual gameplay of this was really flat It was like, oh, so you want to play a ship girl game, but on land. I can't stand those games either where it's like, okay, so you put it to auto and then just let the game play itself. Oh, neat, cool. I don't care. Maybe I'm the wrong person for it, and that's entirely possible, but it just didn't sit with me.
Them for thinking that way, because a lot of these characters are teenagers, mind you, with some just being straight up children and very risky outfits. But that's really just the surface. The game goes deeper than that. It's a very intricate game with a very complex story that would tear you apart
if you aren't careful.
What?
The game is also very free-to-play friendly if
Really?
you dedicate your time to it, making sure that you'll get the limited units that you were trying to get while being able to farm some permanent 3-star units, which is honestly pretty fucking good. So yes, I genuinely recommend this game. Just don't engage with the community, man. If you want to preserve your sanity,
Seems like the best thing to do
as
for
much as
most shows is
possible.
not engage with
Now,
community.
before we proceed even
games,
further, looking back on these
franchise
gacha
in
games,
general.
they all have two things in common. They have incredibly great stories and good music, with Blue Archive and Guardian Tales being very free-to-play friendly, although their gameplay isn't all that amazing except for Zenless Zone Zero and Guardian Tales. These traits are what players flock to the most. People talk about their
is that a
stories
mecha?
being good, with some even wondering why these games
I mean, told in
are
chat, the story got
free-to-play.
really dark.
Although,
Oh.
to be honest, it's a gacha, so it's just unheard of, because these types of stories in music can mostly be found either through an indie game title or sometimes a AAA game. Now,
Was that the last one Red Dead?
I'm
Probably.
not gonna keep praising the stories for being good, although that's a fact. There is a problem that a lot, if not all, gacha games struggle with from good to
Inconsistent writing where sometimes they have something absolutely amazing and it's followed by the B team writers being on there just to fill something out so the A team writer has time to work on something better. Yeah, I would never actually expect that.
bad. A problem that plagues their stories, and my guy Glitter here is gonna rant
Glitter?
about it. Oh boy, he's gonna yap.
Arknight player? Is it just him shoot? He's probably just shouting. What? Good mic.
You're a degenerate gotcha gamer, right? Tell me,
Angelus's voice.
okay, tell me. Have you heard this before? Have you heard it?
Also, I recognize the Enfield girl just in the background. Her face has been on marketing for almost half a decade now, and the game's still not out. And Zero, the Steam version is everywhere except in Germany? Of which game? Oh, I'm being told it's mouthwashing mentioned? What? I'm not sure. I want to know. Let's just not
any of
ask.
these before. The story's kind of slow at the start, but it gets better. Like the early story's a little mid, but man, at chapter 6, it pops
Someone's talking about chapter 6, so it's either Honkai Impact or some other game I don't know.
off. Okay, like I swear, it gets so good once you're like 20 hours into the story.
I was going to say a joke about how this is basically Wuthering Waves. Then I realized that's so many more games than that I've been told. Like, a lot of RPGs that are coming out are padded in the beginning because they don't know their way either. I'm wondering if this is just a writing problem with people don't know how to start stories anymore in games or in general. I'm being told it's also PGR as well. Yeah, the opening PGR didn't really hit with me either, maybe. I like the gameplay, but
You hear that shit all the time. Like I feel
not even
like
just
I've
gacha
heard
now I
that
think about it.
for almost every gacha game in the last, I don't know, 10 years.
I will say that Arknight's actually had a really immediate opening. It's not good, but it does feel very fast-paced, which immediately is slowed down by literally everything else they ever write. That's better written, but also the pacing is glacial at the best.
10, 15 years. You hear it all the time. But why? Why is it so damn common to hear this thing of like, oh, the early story is like mid?
Or Bethesda, where the beginning is the most memorable thing of Skyrim you have, and then how many people have actually beat that game? I can't, because every time I get near the ending, I have so many system errors building up without modding the game that it has never been able to finish. That's in not just one game, it's in multiple Bethesda games, but that's just because Bethesda, so maybe I'm not exactly being fair there.
Why are early gacha stories mid? Or are they? But no,
they are.
That's the thing. I believe, I agree with the idea. I agree that early gacha game stories are mid. I agree that early gacha game stories are usually kind of mid. They're usually kind of slow. They take a while to get started. Not that much happens in them.
I will give Fate Grand Order some pass here. The opening chapter was rather explosive. I'm not sure how much I could spoil with this one, but the initial slowness of the first chapter only, the prologue, while it has some pacing issues after it really kicks into high gear because it slows down again, to get to that first whoa moment, they paced that right. And just everything after that was kind of hit and miss. And then they really missed after that. And then it got better, and then they really missed again.
The writing of the characters are pretty basic, for lack of a better word. But why? Why is it so common? Why is it so, like, consistent?
Paying cheaper writers save money?
Mid. What's up with it? Like, look, Arknights. You're here.
The first act. Okay, yeah, I wasn't talking like when they're at Chernobog. That shit was boring as hell, and I honestly nearly quit the game because of that. Hell, I did the first time because I was so bored with the story. I then also realized I didn't care about the story and just like the roguelike when I came back to it, so I kept playing that instead. But yeah, no, the opening of getting out of the city, cool. Being in Chernobog, I hate all of those people. I was rooting for the enemy to win because none of them should survive. They're all assholes.
Genshin, you're here. Star Rail?
Star Rail, I think, actually had a very good start. And then you get to Bellabog, and it's good at the end, but the beginning of it was rough, man.
You hear it. Blue Archive?
I don't know about that, so sorry.
Fate Go. Ancient Fate Go.
Okay, maybe I'm going to say something that's going to be controversial at this point. It sounds like the problem isn't that the game starts mid, it's that they have a very good hook, which is what they need to have more than anything else, because if you don't have a good hook, no one starts. But it's that they immediately lose the tension until they find their way later on. For Honkai Star Rail, for example, that initial, you're lost, you have no idea what's going on, you're seeing it through Kafka's perspective, you're dropped in a body, no idea what's happening, there's fighting everywhere, you're barely leveled up enough so it's actually challenging, you have to really be tactical about what you're doing, you're not sure what's going on, you don't realize how weak you are, so nothing is crazy, nothing is really expected. You get to the space battle, you're running to fight the dragon in space, that's cool! And then you go to Bellabog, it's like, okay. What? Okay, why are we fighting a robot? Okay, we're fighting a robot. It loses all pace. It doesn't seem like the beginning is cool. It's like they have a really strong start, build up, hit that peak, and okay, now we have that initial, we have the audience in there. Are we able to keep them long-term to pay writers to do more, or should we cut this here? It honestly feels like they bring in the A-team for the beginning prologue only, and everything after the prologue suffers.
Still hear it. Even the gacha game that is like praised for having like good story, like probably the best story, like the presentation, the writing, and narrative, everything is fantastic. Limbus Company. Even for Limbus Company, for at the very least the first 2 chapters, the first 2 cantos, you hear how it's okay. Like,
I'll be honest, I heard that about the 4th canto. I heard that about the 2nd canto. I think the opening is rough because you don't know anything, but it also has to be that way because they're talking from a perspective of a character who does actually know what's going on for a handful of lines before your main character loses his memory. And then it's safe to have him talk again because he's working from nothing. Where before, he's talking about the concepts that they have to know about, that the writers have to know about, or at least pretend they know about, so they can write themselves to a corner if they have too much information right there. So it's one of those, how do you deal with someone who knows the outcome of the story or what the story needs to aim for? They know the plot twist already. And then they don't. It's a much harder way because if you say stuff too much too early on, that corner you're writing yourself into is a blatant plot hole. Either you correct it later and just say, hey, we fucked up and lose face, or you try and fix it and maybe fuck it up further. I'll give Limbus that. Although I will say they might have stretched that out a little too long, but not that bad. I've also been told what I saw was heavily adapted and fixed, so a lot of the bloat I saw was the fixed version. So maybe it was worse early on.
Because they're really not up to par to their usual. Of course, there's high standards for Project Moon stuff, but still, you hear it. But why?
Although, high standard for Limbus Company, yes, high standard for Runia. Great story. I've been told I need to play it. Lobotomy Corporation. You're not playing that for the story. You're playing to beat a rage game made to cause pain.
why is this a gacha game thing? It's not like you have another piece of media. Like,
Also, I'm being told by Zero, Guardian Tale has some really good animations. The fight of Rudolph, the were-deer versus anti-Christmas terrorism fight is awesome. I honestly don't even know if you're trolling me or not. And you could be very serious and I would have no idea. Huh.
say a manga or a movie or a TV show or an anime or something, those really often have like super strong starts. So it's not like it's just a media in general thing. It's a gacha story thing. Or at least seems to be.
No. There's a lot of media that comes out and they're terrible intros. It's why some people say you gotta wait 3 episodes to watch an anime to see if it's good or not. I'll be honest, if it can lose me in the first 30 seconds, I might drop it. If they can lose me in the first 30 minutes, I might drop it. If I'm going to the first hour, because most episodes are 20 minutes, or yeah, roughly 20 minutes without ad breaks, I might still drop it. Hell, there's a few shows coming out right now. I was like, okay, I thoroughly hate all of these characters immediately. I'm gone. I don't care if it gets good. I don't want to find out if it gets good. They're not worth it. And then there's other things like Rent a Girlfriend where it's like, I know enough. I don't want to get into it. Because it might be good, but I'm not finding out. But I don't want to deal with that shit.
But okay, so maybe it's confirmation bias, right? Like you as a sane individual, you might think,
Okay, one, I am not the person he's talking about right now, so I won't comment.
oh, maybe it's confirmation bias. Because, like, you know, the people who stick with the story and later tell you that the story gets really good, well, that's the people who didn't mind the beginning story that much.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. They did kind of draw this out in the intro. It felt faster because I was speed reading it. Maybe that's why. I did skip a lot of the stuff that I didn't care about. Yeah.
And then kept going. And, like, they're probably susceptible.
Also, this entire shit of, you killed my brother because you were trying to save me, so now I must let you kill me because I'm impersonating my brother, but I'm also stronger than him, even though I was weak 5 minutes ago. I'm just going to spoil something about Arknights. They all suck. Like, legitimately, everyone in Arknights, and including some of your characters, are horrible. The main characters, this is the spoiler, entire premise is I'm here to turn you all into a supercomputer and rebuild my people who are dead. You're all food. Or bits. Yeah. I'm badly paraphrasing that. I'm aware. But he's there to fuck them up. It's his fault. Or he's working with the people whose fault it is, who are all dead. And there's times in this game where I'm like, you know what? Maybe they should all be destroyed because these people are terrible. It's like the most well thought out, not actually fucking it up more than you could possibly do, and then finding a way to fuck it up more. But it's done in a way that's really well done. And you're invested even though they are terrible, which is the good point to it. I have mixed feelings on this game, which is actually a good thing because it's horrible people doing horrible things, sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for absolutely horrible reasons.
But more susceptible to liking the story in the first place, right? So maybe it's that. The people who wouldn't like the story ever, they just drop off early on anyway, right? If they even read.
Although at least with Arknights, again, the roguelike is my favorite thing about the game.
The story, that is, if they're not just there for the, gameplay or something. Couldn't be me. But, I mean, maybe that's the case. But, I have a theory.
I do like tower defense.
A thesis in the making. Now, I haven't explored all the lore implications. It's a work in progress, okay? But hear me out. Hear me out, okay? Insert whiteboard with lots of things on it, connected.
A padded room. Considering I have put padding on my walls, I should not say shit about this right now. Soundproofing, yes, that's exactly why. Ignore the restraints on the chair.
And so on. I'd like to present to you. Early gacha game stories are mid on purpose.
I think on principle, no. I would say it's less on purpose and more on acceptance. But let's hear them out.
And why are they made on purpose? To not overwhelm the player. Okay? Stay with me.
No. No, there's plenty of games that still overwhelm the player. When you're jumping into any new gacha, they throw everything at you, try to explain it all, but it's just a bunch of things hitting you in the face. You have no idea what's going on until you actually have to find out as you go. But maybe that's just me.
Okay,
They all
right,
kind of
'cause, you
act samey, though, for a lot of
You
them.
start up a new gacha game, right? Like, ooh, cute anime girls, and I can gamble for them.
What was that one they pulled up there?
You know, you start up a new gacha game, right? Like, ooh, cute anime.
Yes! Ah! I don't know about this girl, but I'm assuming she dies horribly. Because I know about the other two. They overdid her story and overwrote everything about her. Again, it's my critique with a lot of Arknight story. They overwrite. They take what could be a few sentences and make it a novel. It's a well-written novel, and it's not badly done. It's just, you don't need it to convey the same information, so it's just belaboring a point. Her story was good. But it took too long to get to the point where I stopped caring. Because a lot of it was, well, I'm doing this because I have to, and I feel like I must. But I'm going to also ignore all my reasons prior to that and just keep doing it because I'm very stubborn. Almost everyone is just being a stubborn asshole. It's, again, one of the reasons I'm pissed off with every aspect of this game. But also still appreciate because it's at least consistent. It is very much a trope in this game. Yuri. Yeah, I'm sure nothing bad happened. What was that about Apple?
Girls, and I can gamble for them. Epic. You start a new gacha game. You start logging into the game. So many things. You got so many menus. So many.
Also, I'm being told PGR is an example of partial overwhelming. The story wasn't overwhelming early on. All of the everything else is overwhelming. Hell, I have barely checked out things I have in the game now because, like, you know what? I don't know what this is. I'm never going to bother finding out. I don't care. Yeah. There's just so many things they throw at you. And some of them are good. It's like, oh, these events will stick around forever. So when you complete them, neat. Others are like, here's this random thing that we had at the beginning of the game that's no longer useful. And in fact, you should never actually do it. But we're going to leave it here just because we don't want to take away something. But it's still terrible.
UI elements, all the gameplay. You gotta get used to the dailies, right? Like, you know,
Yeah,
this
dailies.
is like launch. This is launch day for a new gacha game. You're not getting into it later on. This is launch day.
I
New
guess that is
menus,
less
new
overwhelming.
mechanics, new gameplay, new characters.
I will be honest, yeah, Amber was not great in her writing because, first character. I feel like if they had redone this game as a single player, it actually would make her a much more interesting character. They would make smaller amounts of characters and it would be a much more interesting story. But also with their initial writing, it wasn't just the beginning of this game that suffered. It really wasn't. I was not playing this game for the story. I was playing this game because I liked exploration, and then it just got annoying. Inazuma, man. You had to play the story to progress things.
All this stuff, it's exciting. There's so many things to explore and do and find out and so on. But what about the story? Well, I mean, it's the kind of the thing you go through first. That's your gameplay. Right? Like,
Again, I don't think Limbus Company's a fair one. Valerian, Genshin is not single player. I mean, it mostly is, but you can do things with other people. You shouldn't. It's not good. It's actually sometimes harder because of that. But like when I say single player, I mean offline, solo, no online access, no gambling. I would love if when the game finally dies, they turn it into that. Just give someone the files. It's like, hey, you've bought this many characters. We'll give you the game when we're about to close servers. That would be fun. I don't think they will, but it'd be fun. But my point was, like, Limbus, the slow writing, I think, was to honestly fool you into sense of normalcy, thinking, okay, this is a safe, slow game. No one's going to die. This is fine. We can build characterization. We can show you what it's like to ride in the bus. It was very much building the world initially. I think that was the important part. It was slow on purpose, not because it was bad writing, but because it was showing you what normal looks like. So then they could skip past it later. And also because they built up characters for some shock value later.
kind of the introduction to the gameplay and whatnot.
And check, that's what Stop Killing Games is trying to do? Actually, no, it's not. What I'm describing is way more aggressive than Stop Killing Games. Stop Killing Games is, if someone wants to build a server to keep it going later, they're allowed. Here's the tools. We're putting it out there. Stop Killing Games is actively talking about what Steam just did with, or sorry, what Valve just did, because Valve owes Steam. I keep forgetting that part. With Team Fortress. They're done supporting the game. So they put out everything for the community. Like, the entire code for the game is out. Do what you want. It's out there. We're not supporting it anymore. We'll leave the servers up for a bit, but if you want to start your own, cool. If they get good enough, we'll just let you take it. They're done. So everyone has the stuff now, and they can just do what they want. And wait, Zero, Guardian Tales has some permanent choices? Oh, now that's impressive. Because most games don't do choice mattering. It's just slightly different dialogue if they even voice it.
But that's the thing. It's kind of the backbone to the introduction of the game. But you as a player have all these other things that you're also getting introduced into.
Honestly, I am at the stage right now where I would love if the tutorials were not there and you were just allowed to fuck it up and do things. As long as it doesn't get into the money aspect, explain the things that have actual repercussions and let yourself just explore things as they come up naturally. I don't know any game that does that, but I know one game that does that, and I still need to play it, Void Stranger. I've heard that's really good.
Introduced to that are not story related. So my idea is, this is what I think might be the case. The story is kept very, very sort of quite simple, quite basic. Let's not do anything crazy. Because, I mean, can the players even focus on the story that much?
There is another theory to writing that you don't initially go to the highlight because you need to ramp up to something else, which is part of the reason a lot of gacha stories, I think, actually start out fine. Because the initial part of Mondstadt, where you're running into the city, you're finding the dragon, it's very simple, but it feels like a lot's going on. There's a lot of interesting gameplay modes. You're running around, you're doing that, and then as soon as you're done with the dragon and you get the glider, okay, now the story goes into that lull. That's, I think, what everyone's talking about. I don't think he's talking about it right. Because I think I get what he's talking about, but I think he's looking at it as the beginning is bad overall, where I think there's a very slow progression getting through the intros, getting through the beginning of the game where you're getting the tutorial essentially. And there's usually that spike of interest. For Genshin, it's the dragon fight in the air. Is it good? It's kind of stupid, honestly. It's not very exciting. But when you're not sure that it is important right away and you're throwing yourself into it, you have no idea what's going on, it feels immediate. And that immediacy is there. And it's lost immediately after that. Because as soon as they let you actually go open world and explore everything and there's no more direction of where to go, as soon as it's actually less railroaded, the story's like, do whatever you want, it's fine. And that's where Genshin fell off initially. And it built back better, but because the exploration was good, but you had to get to that point and just slog through everything else. But that initial grab was there. And I think that's why he's talking about they're building it slow. But I think he's missing it because what he's identifying as the beginning is actually falling off the cliff. Because they have that initial grab, but they're not sure about what to do after that because they can't keep that kind of momentum going forever. That is way too hard. But I wish it wasn't.
When they're doing all this other stuff, maybe they can. Maybe that's the idea. All these things are just competing for your, like, processing power. So let's focus on doing all the game things, which kind of still, somewhat are, important. They kind of,
I think it's
they
more
are
just
important.
failure of writing.
Especially getting you used to the gambling and the daily so that you form a habit and become addicted to the game so that you keep giving them money.
That part is definitely true regardless. I will agree 100% on that. Although I think from the writing end, I think they basically put the A team, they get good writing, usually, for the initial grab, and then they just need to fill up the rest. And they probably don't do it all at one go. It's like, here's the initial pitch, write that well, make the gameplay fit, now let's focus on everything else, come back, okay, now we're going to do to connect it to the next cool thing. Filler time, someone else design it. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does work in cycles that are not entirely connected sometimes.
The long run.
Yeah. You ain't wrong, though.
And that's almost kind of like a more positive way of looking at it, of sort of like, hey, let's help the player. Like, let's not overwhelm the player with really, like, complicated, like, sort of very engagement requiring story early on when they're getting used to something. The other option,
they're cheap and they just hired,
which is
nothing
maybe even
into
more
it.
Conspiratorial, is that the companies know this, right? They know that maybe all this new shiny stuff with the gameplay and the characters with the new gacha will, like, keep the attention of a player in the early days, right? So they can skimp on the early story because, the players won't care that much anyway, right?
And I think he's right. Although I won't say it's the early story. I think it's everything after the initial hook. usually that first initial brush with the story is good. Hell, even just in Wuthering Waves, which the opening of that story is trash. You go multiple chapters before there's even something approaching a character worth listening to. And that continues into characters who I like later. Scar in any other game, if you know Wuthering Waves, you know what I'm talking about and what I'm about to say. Any other game, he'd be like, oh God, this guy's full of himself. I want him to shut the fuck up. Here it's like, oh God, finally someone who's acting. But all of that said, that isn't true for the beginning of Wuthering Waves, where the initial discovering the world, ooh, we can do things. Here's that initial fight. And then the first boss fight that's thrown right in your face where you have no idea what's going on. That feels immediate. And it's well handled. They're not throwing too much at you. Immediately after that hook, you should skip everything until Scar is on screen. And you lose nothing. Nothing that comes up there is any value to the story whatsoever. It doesn't matter. It only hurts and hinders you from getting things done. It doesn't even introduce anything to you of value because nothing about it matters. It is absolutely useless. That's horrible writing. But the hook came before that. And I think that's what I'm disagreeing with this. The hook is usually really good and then it petters off because, we'll see what happens. And we'll focus on other parts. If you only write the good stuff at the high point of a storyline, everything in between is shit. And that is, unfortunately, a lot of problems. And Hobbit's going, you could say it's a dichotomy. I might have a thesis on that. I'm not forgetting that one.
Especially if they play a little bit into the, early stories are always a little mid. So, I'll wait and see what happens with the story. So only then...
But they shouldn't be mid. They should be so good and not just the hook.
And you've also formed a habit. Then they can start doing more interesting stuff with the story. Huh? Like, I don't think I'm completely crazy here, right? Like back me up, Perlica.
Nope. Still not sure if I want to try Enfield.
Right? See? She believes me. So yeah, like there's essentially...
Wait, what was that little editor's note at the bottom? I need to see that. Editing note. He's lost it. I have no idea what that's like.
So yeah, like there's essentially the idea of like, they're helping you. Like, they don't want to overwhelm you with the story or...
Also, I'm seeing this comment here. Shaq, you're mentioning, so you want nothing but climax from start to end? Okay, one. If you can maintain that kind of pacing, that is a god tier writer, and you should make most of the budget from the gacha go to whoever can pull that off. That is absurd, and the only time in any media I have seen that achieved in a franchise that I actually give a damn about, and I'm going to probably piss people off by saying this, is it wrong to pick up Girls in the Dungeon Season 4? Not the first 3 seasons. They did not do that. Season 4 went, okay. First episode, bad shit happened. Second episode, more bad shit. Third episode, okay, we got some time down. We finally won. It's great. Let's see. Oh, no, wait, bad shit's still happening. And then it keeps up like that until the very last episode. And honestly, the last episode falls flat because it's not nearly as an amazing ending, which is the series' problem where they don't know how to end a season. But the lead up of the 4th season was fire the entire way. Valerian, Lord of Mysteries. I've seen a little of that show. I don't know enough about it to say that all the way through. So far, pretty good. But I can't say that for the entire series because I haven't seen it, so I'm not bringing it up. But yeah, the 4th season of How to Be or Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon is legitimately just amazing writing. And if that's how the show started, it would probably be amazing the entire way through, but you need a lot of the context to get there. And honestly, I think the writer was teaching himself how to write to get to that point. And a lot of that was carried through on the 5th season. It's much more downtime in that season. It's much more less combat and more psychological aspects there until it was combat. And then there was wanking for the character's fave girl, who apparently wasn't the one he initially intended. And there's the loopholes he's made with that, but that's a completely different thing. It's hard to do that kind of constant on the edge writing. And sometimes you shouldn't because downtime is important. But I'm talking something different between downtime and bad writing. Because what we have in a lot of gacha games isn't downtime, it's filler. It's putting something in there to solve space in an MMO with MMO level writing, where no one cares, no one's reading it. It's there to be serviceable so that you could get something for this reward. It's like, oh no, I need these apples. Where am I going to find these 3 apples? Standing next to an apple tree. Player, can you help me find these 3 apples? It's that level of writing. It's filler words. Where if you gave it to an AI, it would be like, so, I quit. Yeah, it will gain sentience to realize how dumb this is. I'm sorry, when it comes to writing, I have no chill, and this is actually something that bugs me when I do engage with it, and it's why I've dropped more games than not. Not the Predatory gacha, bad writing.
Or they think you're distracted with everything else so they can skimp on the story. So, this idea came to my mind, like, because I'd been wondering about this. I'd been wondering about this, like, why? Why is it so common to hear this sentiment about early gacha game stories? It gets better later. It's bad at the beginning. Or not even bad, it's always just mid. It's boring. It's not that great at the beginning. And there was one moment where this idea started to come into my head on why. I used to wonder. But then a certain game released called Withering Waves.
Speaking of games with mid beginnings, it's not the worst beginning I've ever seen, but it was really skippable. But they had a skip button, so that did help. Just you didn't realize when you needed a skip button, so you didn't skip sometimes. Also, just to quote one of the best examples, Hera, I am a shepherd with years of experience. Can you help me gather my lost sheep? Yeah. And Necro, they HSR outsourced their translating French. I mean, as long as the translation was good, I'm fine with that. Because if you don't speak the language, doing it yourself is sometimes worse. There's been examples.
And I played it at launch. And I played it for a few weeks at launch. And if you were also around then, and possibly playing, or
yeah,
at least
day one,
following the discussion, you might have noticed that, man, a lot of people really didn't like the story.
Especially after that first boss fight. But the first boss fight was in the beta. And apparently they made it easier, which I liked how he fought because it was forcing you to learn the mechanics. But he was also very generous, and he would be obviously goading you on to attack him so he would learn the mechanics. Also, that's not a joke. Like, there's actually animations goading you attack specifically because he was baiting you. So you would learn how to play. Yeah, that's something in the game that's just kind of cool. But that opening was awesome, and then it immediately fell off.
Right? Like, it was
They
no
got better.
longer, oh, the
But you had to get
story's
through a
mid, or
lot of
it's not
shit.
that great. No, the story was actively bad, was the sentiment from a lot of people, me included,
Oh, yeah, same.
for the record. And that got me thinking,
And I
because,
liked it. It was fine.
well, the Wuwa story, however, was like doing stuff, right? Like, there was a lot happening.
See, this part, when these two showed up, the game had already improved the storytelling. Their stuff wasn't great, but Alto was probably my favorite character. A lot of people said Scar was the big one. I think Alto actually is probably the biggest disappointment as a character, but the greatest part of the story. He's actually treated well in game, and he's stupid but funny and competent, but doesn't always do it when he should. And it's like, he's a good character. And the first time they brought him in for the little story, it's like, it's kind of silly, but it's actually storytelling that was plot relevant. Also, Hobbit, need to watch Epic NPC Man series? I've actually heard about that for years. I never got around to it. I need to do that, probably. And Zero, you mentioned Guardian Tales start is okay. A bit of action, later fight versus Team Rocket. The crazy panda trio? I have questions. I'm a little afraid. And Valerian, I talked about Scar. Yeah, I did. I think Alto just did it better, and he doesn't get the love for everything Scar does because he did it first. Scar actually was a character. Alto, he did it better. But Alto wasn't the first guy. It was Scar. So yeah. Personal opinion. Scar is the point of the game where the story starts improving, but you gotta get through a lot of shit before that.
A lot happening. You were kind of thrown right into the world. You're kind of getting a running start to everything and so on. But it ended up feeling like somehow really shallow and also just kind of confusing and sort of going from one bit to another, almost too fast. It was, in a way, not necessarily overwhelming. I mean a little bit. It also had a bit of a thing with lots of in-universe jargon and weird.
Yeah. And they expect you to understand it even though you're established as being someone who doesn't have memories. Jargon is fine if it's used consistently in relatable and understandable ways. Jargon without explanation, with people just saying, oh, that's what that is, and not showing it, is horrible. Ugh. Also, what did you say, Hobbit? Here's hoping you can get to watch the first season, 12 minutes of Epic Nate. Or sorry, I keep saying Nate, it's NPC, man. I don't know why my mind just goes to Nate when I see NPC. That's weird. But I'm also weird, so this kind of makes sense. Maybe. Probably not today because time, but we'll see what happens.
The words you had to get used to. But that's what made me think, because the Woowa story, I genuinely thought was, like, it was a bad introduction
Yes.
to the story and the game.
But he's talking about the later events that went wild. But those were the best parts of the first story. No, I'm going to disagree with him entirely. I think what he's looking at as it's an overwhelming story is the problem. But the part that was overwhelmingly bad isn't the ending of that. It's, okay, cool, neat buildup. It was, you have nothing of value being said where you're just trying to explain, okay, here's this character. See, we've interacted with them. Let's move on to the next character. See, we've interacted with them. That is the entire freaking intro after that first boss fight. Every damn character that's a 4-star has some, well, except for the boxing story, who I still don't know what its point is. It's like, okay, we get to interact with this character now. Cool. They did something that didn't matter. Let's move on to the next character. Cool. They did something that didn't matter. Yeah.
And I think the reason was that they tried to do too much. They were like,
no,
too
when they finally
ambitious
did things, it was
with
good.
their, like, launch patch stories.
But the launch patch story was good when they actually told a story. No, I'm going to completely disagree with this, man. Because early on, they were featuring gotcha-itis of, okay, we need to feature every character. Hell, that's one of the things I think they did right with Calcaro. They didn't do anything with him. He didn't need it. It's something Arknights does. They put characters and they don't say shit because they're not there yet. That's fine. You don't need a 5-second or 5 or 20-minute random dialogue just to get them in there and get them out, because if they're not point of the story, they don't matter. Get them out. Do it later. This is a problem. But what he's talking about isn't it. The story is great when it's moving. Even if some things are objectively stupid, you'll forgive it if it's fun enough to move through. But some of the early dialogue, some of the early story that was bad, that wasn't the ending. It was the, okay, we've checked off this, we have to do it. Or, okay, we're going to do a bunch of random things. She put us down to talk about this, so we explore this world, so we go to these locations. Okay, we got a candy, we got to figure out the time period. See, it's a really cool puzzle. It's like, no, you fucking dumbass. If you're trying to tell me a genius did this, Chong-Li, this is probably the biggest problem about you. It's that you don't get anything of value for the first half of the game. After that intro, after the hook, nothing of value happens. You cut it all out, you lose nothing because it didn't matter. They were trying to lead into it, but they were trying to be too smart while also being incredibly dumb. I don't have very strong feelings about that, as you can tell. Also, Zero, you mentioned GT side stories are great because you get to meet them in the main story and they remember GT. Honestly, I'm being an idiot right now. I don't know what GT stands for. Also, people are talking about ribs. That sounds amazing, actually. Should probably be some breakfast.
You were already doing all this other, like, exploration. You're doing all this overworld exploration,
Yeah,
and
that's
engaging with the incredible combat mechanics
Boss
and all
was
that,
good.
right? And like the beautiful world
Yeah.
and so on.
Best exploration in the game.
Performance issues aside, but then when you're doing the story, first of all, you're kind of encouraged to do the story like right as it's available.
Yeah, that's fine. Just there's a lot of it that wasn't worth doing.
Right? Like you're encouraged to kind of go through it like right as it's available, which then causes this weird thing where in like one patch, in like launch patch story, way too much happens. And a bunch of characters seem very shallow and like things just develop way too quickly.
Okay, we're cutting this one here. The character he's pointing out is the worst character in the game, and I played his story because it's the first one I played. That's why I've never bothered to play any of the others. I think he's equivalating. I cannot speak today. He's taking initial story launch with, well, let's not overwhelm characters. I don't think he's talking about overwhelming characters. I think he's literally just missing the point of it's just bad writing. It's not overwhelming characters. It's that they didn't realize what they were writing was bad because it's filler. The storylines early on, except for the high points, were fillers. They were there to give you something to do when you finished with the stuff they were doing. And it's not just gacha games. Destiny did this. I don't mean Destiny 2. I mean Destiny. A lot of the filler was filler. Oh, a lot of the shit they did that wasn't filler was stupid, but it looked cool. And while you're playing through the first time, it's like, yeah, that's dumb, but it was enjoyable. But then there was all this bad stuff. It's like, no, it's not just gacha games. It's so many things. People don't know how to continue the momentum from a strong start. They get that hook and, okay, what do we do until the next hook? They're losing their way between because they just need to get from point A to point B. But somehow they take point B and drop it down to point Z, which is the low point that they should have never reached. And they stay there until they go to point B. Writing is something I'm passionate about. And I have no chill. Also, Hobbit, I have strong feelings on writing. Me? No way. Yeah, I know. Shocking. Although I will say the Lin Yang storyline, even if the story was literal trash the entire time, it made no sense, it was absolutely dumb. The platforming introduced as a custom dungeon at the end of his event was actually fun and enjoyable, and I was glad to play that. I wish I could have muted everything else about it and just played that little extra dungeon for a second 2D platformer on the screen, because that was just enjoyable and they did it really well. That's the only nice thing I'm going to say about that. That was it. So, my internal fixation with that aspect of the game aside, this is still something I really like. I might not agree with the premise where this is going, but I think he has a point. He's just oversimplifying and not going as general as it might actually deserve. Not usually the way that goes. Usually it's too specific, or it's too generalized, not specific. I think this is actually could be more generalized, not just a gacha game. So I think from that, whatever premise he comes to will be wrong. But I think he's coming at it from the right angle. We'll see how this goes. Maybe it'll develop differently. Either way, we'll see you again next week. So you guys know the deal. Link below, video. Hit it up. I'll see you in the next one. Adios.